Hello, welcome back to Buckle Up. My name's Jasper and this is my new 2016 Audi TT. Yes, I have replaced my L322 Range Rover and I've gone for something quite different. We'll have potentially a separate video on that. This is a full review of my new car. And where better to start that review than by talking about the styling at the front of the car. Now this is an incredibly sporty and purposeful front end. There's some fantastic creasing that drops down from the bonnet through the edges of the headlamp clusters and to the front grille, all the way down to the front splitter. Now this front grille is a lovely gloss black plastic, and that is a nice contrast to, in this case, the lovely metallic blue paintwork. Obviously your Audi badge prominently front and centre, and here on this model, Quattro. This does have Audi's all-wheel drive system fitted to it. The grille is flanked by a nice piece of chrome, and I've got a matte finish splitter at the bottom. The sides of the car have these quite deep air vents on them. They are mainly for styling. There is only a small bit of functional airflow at the very bottom of these. Still a very purposeful and sporty front end. Aggressive headlamp clusters with daytime running light strikes at the bottom, and this has Audi's LED headlamp system, which is fantastic for nighttime driving. I do also have front parking sensors and headlamp washers. The front parking sensors were an optional extra when this car was purchased new. It's the side of the car where you see the thing that the TT is most known for across all three of its generations, which is the coupe styling. However, let's start at the front, where you have your headlamp clusters curving round ever so slightly into what is quite a muscular wheel arch. This model is the S-Line trim, which brings with it some nice alloy wheels. These are the optional 19-inch alloys, which look excellent but do mean your ride quality does suffer a small amount. S-Line badge on the front quarter panel, and you've got the crease from the top of the bonnet which sits along the window line, as well as the crease from the lower section of the bonnet which runs all the way across the back of the car. You've got quite muscular side skirts and a muscular rear wheel arch. Fuel flap in this case is a nice aluminium, and that's got a fast fill system, so you don't actually have a fuel cap to remove underneath it. You've got lovely frameless doors because this is a coupe, and tinted glass for the rear section of the windows. Indicators integrated into the wing mirrors and your lovely swooping roofline, but other than the gorgeous creases at the side of this car, there's not a tremendous deal to talk about. However, at the back, you can see that muscular wheel arch curving around into the rear bumper. Fantastic rear light clusters, which have a scrolling indicator effect in them because this is the S-Line trim. The Sport only got simple indicators there. Another Quattro badge on this boot lid, and a nice rear diffuser with twin exhaust tips in it too. Nice sporty touch there. Those creases from the front of the car carry down beautifully at the edge of the muscular wheel arches, and your lip from where the window line sits also curves round in a nice sweep across the back of the car. Now this does have a pop-out spoiler which will raise automatically when you go over a certain speed, or you can, if you'd like to look like a bit of a raise it and leave it permanently up. The first generation TT will always be iconic because it gave car reviewers the chance to throw around the word Bauhaus a lot with its design. Now this third generation has taken that and evolved it quite a considerable amount. There is that recognisable silhouette to the car. It's just a lot more polished and modern now. And another piece of evidence of this is your third level brake light is this gorgeous strip that sits just under the rear spoiler and above the boot lid. This third generation took the second generation styling and made it a lot more purposeful. The second generation to me looks quite inflated. This has a lot more crease, action and aggression built into it. With this car being a coupe, the glass house actually extends quite a way back on this rear hatch. And yes, it is a hatch because the boot lid is actually the entire rear screen. And if you open this, you will see a capacity of 305 litres, which is actually pretty good. This is a 2+2 coupe configuration and a 305 litre boot that is also a brilliantly boxy shape with a reasonable load lip at the back edge because of where the plate and rear crash structure sit, is actually pretty impressive. The rear seats can be folded, and that gives you a fantastically flat load floor all the way from the back of the car to the rear of the front seats, meaning it's actually surprisingly practical given its style. Now, one side effect of some of the reviews I've done in the past on this channel with sporty-ish coupes is I kind of have to prove that the boot is quite practical, so this is my way of doing that. I can fit with a reasonable amount of room to spare, so if you do like to go away for a week or so with another person, you should actually be pretty good with a boot this size. It's more than enough space to fit a couple of suitcases or soft bags into. Let's have a look in the cabin. Now, the TT is one of those cars which is a classic case of, well, it does have rear seats. Now, just because it has them doesn't mean they are overly usable. So they are very kind of upright bucket seats, but also you've got the slight fact of there not really being any headroom. Now, this seat is in my driver's position, and I am famously a bit of a short arse, so this is actually reasonably far forwards. It's not all the way forwards. I have had people in the back of this car, and I've moved my seat forwards so I'm kind of uncomfortably close, but it means that they at least have room to fit their legs. Because what I would say is if you were a taller driver and wanted to carry somebody in the back of the TT, you'd have to hope they didn't have legs or a head, which kind of rules out most people. Now, the boot lid actually has a small sticker on it which warns you not to shut it on the heads of people sitting in the back, which is quite amusing. What I will say is I am 5'7" and a bit, about 173 centimetres on a good day, and I cannot sit upright in the back of this car. I really kind of have to hunker down, slouch over a little bit. I'm all right for legroom, actually, surprisingly. The main difficulty I have is getting in and getting out, because there's not a lot of maneuverability, especially if the seat isn't all the way forwards to actually kind of get your feet up and over. There's no under thigh support because these seats are quite low, and with respect to the floor, you've got the fuel tank under them essentially, and they're not angled. You've just got a very upright backrest and a very flat seat. This is really a case of the car is a two-seater with an additional 2 seats if you really need them. So, the front seats are miles better than the back. I've got the same lovely Alcantara seat base with leather seat squabs, and this is a fantastically comfortable but also sporty seat. It does hold you relatively well. It could be a little bit more bolstered for me because I do have quite a slim figure, but it does hold you well enough in corners, and the grippy Alcantara seat base does assist with that. Now, materials are a fantastic point in this cabin all round. The seats are obviously a great starting point, but everything, squidgy dash, lovely centre console, fantastic leather wrapped steering wheel and squidgy door cards, gorgeous brushed aluminium style plastic on the grab handles. This whole cabin is a lovely premium experience, and it's also very sporty because you've got dark materials everywhere, dark headliner, dark sun visors, dark steering wheel, dark dashboard, lovely aluminium highlights to just brighten up certain elements. This interior is very clean, and that's because you don't have a large infotainment screen in the centre. Everything is built into the virtual cockpit. And the TT was actually the first car from VAG that launched this feature. So that means everything digital is displayed in your driver's gauge cluster, with the exception of the climate controls, which are integrated beautifully into the rotary turbine air vents. You've got fan speed, temperature and direction, but this has the automatic climate control, which was again an optional extra because Audi like to make you pay for things. Practicality is not particularly a strong point of the front of the cabin. You do have a lovely large cubby in the center console, which is the perfect place to plop your mobile phone if it's plugged in and charging. And you've got a cup holder in the center console here and an additional cup holder under the armrest, but the armrest has to be open for you to use anything taller than, say, a can in that. The door cards would fit a bottle of water, but it would have to be a closed bottle of water because it's not got a kind of upright section in it, and there's nowhere, I discovered, for me to put my protein shaker after I've been to the gym in this interior because it's too large to fit in this cup holder. One thing I do love, however, is Audi thought of something that most manufacturers don't actually do, and that is this car has keyless go. Where does one put this key? Because this doesn't have keyless entry, so you do need to lock and unlock the vehicle, and then when you get in, it's like, do you just throw it in the big bin? Oh no, you drop it in here in this specific slot designed to hold the key. That's good attention to detail, that is. Now the stereo is an excellent Bang & Olufsen sound system, which you've got large dual speakers in the door cards and then tweeters up on the dashboard towards the front of the windscreen. The steering wheel has aluminium accents on it, a mixture of flat and perforated leather, feels very nice in your hands, and it is a flat bottomed design which does make it feel sporty. The S-Line also comes with this lovely embossing of the S-Line badge in the headrests on these sporty seats. That's enough of me whittering on about the interior of this car. Let's take it for a drive and see what it's like. For urban driving, the automatic gearbox is very slick, smooth and quick to shift. The car itself is very nippy. The steering is excellently direct and it's got a very fast steering rack. So that means urban driving and tight corners are actually nice and easy because you are able to take them quickly and effectively because you don't have to think about the gearbox, and the steering is nice and sharp. Now, this car being an S-Line model, it has the S-Line suspension, and that is lower and stiffer than the suspension that was available on the standard or sport model. And the impact of that is, yeah, it's a little bit more clattery over bumps than maybe ideal, but it's not uncomfortably so, and it's certainly not a deal breaker in terms of the car's driving experience. The suspension is well damped, it's just a tad firm. It's not too firm, it's just firm. Now, the engine is a 2-litre turbocharged petrol unit, and it produces 230 PS and 350 Newton meters of torque, both of which are fairly respectable numbers. This is the EA888 engine that VW Group have been shoving into just about every vehicle they make, and for good reason. It's a good engine, it's strong, it's capable, and it produces a good amount of power. The TT sits on VAG's MQB platform, which is the platform that has underpinned every car they make from the Polo up to kind of Passat and Tiguan levels. Certainly it underpins vehicles from small to large, and that's not a bad thing. The platform has a lot to offer, and certainly in the TT it is fantastically sharp and poised. And for a brand whose kind of mainstream products are sometimes criticised for feeling a bit safe or wooden or understeery, I beg to differ here. I think the TT feels remarkably well poised, it feels surprisingly sporty, and it's certainly got quite a lot going for it in terms of driving experience. The obvious benefit you have with the TT is you've got a wide, low chassis. You sit low, you sit hunkered down into the car, and that is a tremendous benefit in terms of a sportier feeling drive. So you sitting quite close to the road means you feel more attached to the car, and this chassis actually does a fantastic job of communicating things back to you. Far, far better than any other VW or Audi product I've driven in the past and from current generations of things. You feel surprisingly connected to this. That was one of my initial impressions when I first drove the car, was it's remarkably engaging, and the benefit of that is you really do feel like you can push this car. Now, it being quite a wide, low chassis and having the Quattro all-wheel drive system, they are all things that make the drive feel better. There is an incredible amount of confidence instilled in you in a car like this, because Quattro obviously is a system that offers you that all-wheel drive when you really need it and will step in to rescue you if you somehow slightly overcook something. The car has a range of different drive modes, which are either accessible using a selector switch down here, or you can program a shortcut button on the steering wheel to take you through them. And they range from economy through to comfort, auto, dynamic and individual. And the massive benefit of the TT with the S-Tronic gearbox is, irrespective of what drive mode you're in, you are able to drop the gearbox into sport mode and have the drivetrain be a little bit more responsive and shift faster if you really want to. So you could be in economy mode driving on the motorway, and if you want to overtake something, knock it into sport and then just breeze past them. So right now I'm in comfort mode, but if I want to pop it into dynamic, I'll just do that. Instantly the gearbox is in sport, the engine note is improved because a flap opens up in the exhaust and allows it to sing a little bit more, and everything just tightens up beautifully. And the thing that impresses me the most about this car is not just how quickly it gains speed, because that is impressive in of itself, but how well this car is able to gain and then maintain that speed even on a twisty road. It really does feel fantastic. It's the kind of car where you can keep your foot going and just take corners far faster than you would potentially imagine, because that Quattro system really helps keep you attached to the road, and the wide rubber you have at each corner also keeps you planted. The engine also sings fantastically, and if you're in sport mode, every upshift you get a little bit of a pop from the exhaust. Excellent. If you want to, you can use the paddles behind the steering wheel to change gear yourself, and the dual clutch gearbox is so fast. It really is a pleasure to shift through the gears. Now obviously it's not as engaging as a manual gearbox would be, but the blend of performance and speed available from this gearbox, as well as surprising smoothness, really do make it an excellent choice. The beautiful thing with this car as well is, yes, you can have fun in dynamic mode, but if you pop it back into drive, it quietens down, it settles down, it takes everything just a little bit more smoothly. So this is a car that offers you both, and with the practicality afforded by the surprisingly good boot, yes, it's not as practical as a hatchback, but it's a lot more stylish and it drives a lot better as well. So that is a review, I guess, of my new car. Overall, this is actually an excellent choice if you are young, not really looking for a massive amount of practicality and don't really need it, because yes, it's got a good boot, but it's not great for ferrying more than 2 people about on a regular basis, unless the other people in question are very small and fit in a child seat. But let's face it, getting a child seat in the back of there and getting somebody in and out of it regularly will be quite tiresome. This is not the kind of car to have if you have a family, but if you like a sporty drive, care about a nice interior, and are looking for something that's just a little bit premium, but is still stylish and practical enough, it's definitely worth a look. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you have enjoyed it, please do let us know by liking, commenting and subscribing to the Buckle Up YouTube channel. There are a few ways you can support us in the description, including all of our social media, our merch store and becoming a channel member right here on YouTube. So thank you very much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye.